How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Just the Boys Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And today we're doing a podcast.
Woo!
If you're new to the channel, please smash the subscribe button and hit the like button, and also comment what you guys want us to talk about next week. And let's get into the podcast.
Okay, everything we're talking about today is early reactions of Fantastic Four and all the brand new news that we got this past week, because we've got some crazy Marvel news about Doomsday.
And we're also going to be talking about some Squid Game theories.
And we're also going to talk about the most believable Marvel theories. Okay, first piece of news. We got people attending the Marvel merchandise conference. Now, at this conference, they found out that the X-Men that are in Avengers Doomsday will all have comic accurate suits.
Wow.
So apparently people that go to this conference get to see like merchandise, maybe like toys or possibly like shirts or jackets. And you can see the X-Men that are in the movie and they're in their comic accurate suits.
These people saw like the whole team.
Maybe not the entire, maybe not like a Hugh Jackman, but maybe like the confirmed ones so far.
They didn't say which one they saw?
No, but they're just saying that they saw comic accurate suits.
Wow.
Also, this is really big news. Okay, so last week we talked about the park that they're going to be filming at in London or in the UK. And we talked about how like Luke Cage is going to be in it. But there's been new news coming out saying that Captain Marvel's ship is now being built on the Avengers Doomsday set. And there's going to be at that park.
Huh.
And what's crazy about this, Brie Larson doesn't have a chair.
Yeah.
She was not in the confirmed cast yet.
Right.
But we obviously have to assume that she's in it. But this just confirms that she's in it, and they are filming scenes with the unconfirmed cast.
Interesting.
Right, because there was a rumor that they were only filming scenes with the confirmed cast right now.
Yeah.
But this just confirms they're filming everything. They're not just using the confirmed cast.
Right. Wow. Who knows who's going to be in it now?
Yeah, and we talked about how this part could be Latveria, but we also talked about like Luke Cage's house. But now that I'm thinking that Captain Marvel's there, I'm starting to think it might be Latveria or some sort of like Doom Castle-based type of thing.
Yeah.
Because why else would Captain Marvel be at Luke Cage's house?
Right.
That really doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think it could be Latveria. Maybe.
Yeah. It makes sense now that it's a castle. Captain Marvel is going to go there. Captain Marvel versus Doom. It'd be really interesting to see that dynamic. Who's going to win? Obviously, Dr. Doom probably should. To show his power, they're going to show how he could beat her up. Probably.
Right. And this is also really big news. Okay. Friday is back. Okay.
Friday. The AI.
Yeah. So in Vision Quest, according to Daniel RPK, Carrie Condon will be reprising her role as the voice of Friday, the AI that Tony Stark put in his suit after putting Jarvis into Vision's body.
Yeah.
Now, what does this mean? This could possibly mean that Friday could introduce us to another AI that's Tony.
That'd be crazy. That would be insane. What, like a version where it's like full suit?
Well, I'm just saying, like, it could be what everybody's thinking, like, Tony Stark's going to come back as a hologram, possibly.
Yeah.
And Friday knows about it already. And she has like this back safe drive of that if ever needed, they have a backup Tony.
Wow. That would be pretty epic. I mean, look what's going to be happening in the Ironheart show. Her version of AI comes to life. A hologram.
Right.
Physically, you could see it.
Exactly. So could Friday be the one to introduce Tony back in to the MCU? But it also kind of makes the question, like, is Vision Quest not going to be about Wanda and finding the kids?
No, it is. It's supposed to be.
Right. I'm trying to figure out, why is Friday going to be in it then?
I read it as Friday's coming back as a human. Like a Vision. How Jarvis turns into Vision. I thought Friday's going to be coming back to be like a version that comes to life.
Oh, maybe.
But maybe it's a
it
physical hologram.
It says she's reprising her role as the voice of.
Oh, well, in that case, then she's just the voice.
Yeah. So
I thought I saw a report where she's going to be coming back to play like a live version of Friday. But, I mean,
it's possible, though.
Maybe it's possible she's going to be playing the hologram version of Friday.
Right.
As we see, Riri Williams will have hers. I mean, it's very possible. I'm trying to look from like Robert Downey Jr.'s perspective. Why not come back as the hologram, right? Like, it keeps you around. You want to hop in a few movies here or there, collect your money, and not have to commit to the full-on Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man role, but come back as the hologram. I think it's a smart business move for him. And it's probably not as a heavy lift as when he's playing full-on Tony Stark.
Yeah, and it also wouldn't touch anything to do with him snapping. It wouldn't have any effect on that.
Right.
Okay, moving on into Fantastic Four early reactions. Now, this has gotten a little bit messy on Twitter, I will say.
Yeah.
But people who saw this movie have come out and said that Galactus is a very big highlight of this movie. They say he's absolutely terrifying. It's almost as if they ripped him off the page of a comic book.
Yeah.
Other people are saying this movie gives a lot of personality, and they go for more of like a cosmic horror type of theme to it. Now, I don't really know what cosmic horror kind of is. I'm just thinking that it's kind of showing that Galactus and Silver Surfer Shalabal do have like a very menacing presence on screen. I don't think it's a horror, cosmic horror.
Well, I think the way it could be horror is like Galactus is just killing people, ripping apart, like stepping on them and stuff, which I think is the most like, when I hear horror in a Marvel film, I think of like Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But when I think cosmic horror, I think like maybe it's the menacing fact that Galactus is a huge being, right? Yeah. And he's able to like crush worlds with his hand. And that idea is very scary.
I see. Yeah, that's true. People also are saying the post-credit scene in this movie that we'll talk about a little bit later, but they're saying the post-credit scene alone will take this movie to $1 billion. Now, that is an insane statement to say. $1 billion. You're telling me that post-credit scene will take it to Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War level of profit.
Yeah, but if you look at the Spider-Man movies, that's why like $1 billion is a lot of money. Yeah. Right. But in the Marvel world, I just feel like I think every single Spider-Man movie has hit $1 billion.
Every Spider-Man movie has?
I'm pretty sure. Like in terms of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Oh.
All three of them hit billions of dollars.
Oh, okay.
It is a huge number. As we know, like studios strive for $1 billion.
Right.
But like if you look at like, I think all the Captain America movies hit $1 billion.
Okay.
And Fantastic Four has a lot of fans behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know where we stand right now in terms of the box office, but on projections, but I think they're going to cross $1 billion. I think it's pretty locked.
It's pretty set in stone, yeah. That Fantastic Four will cross $1 billion. I mean, it's Fantastic Four. We've been waiting for this for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's bad, I think it's still going to cross $1 billion.
Go see it, yeah. Another thing that people are saying now, we're kind of getting into like the negative side, okay? Some people are saying that the characters lack development, which I really, even though I haven't seen the movie, I feel like I could kind of disagree with this just because some people that are seeing this movie may not be like super fans of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Right? We already know we're not getting an origin story.
Right.
We're expected to already know these characters and how they act and their personalities.
Right.
We're just bringing different actors into this role. It makes sense that people will feel that way, but it's not a valid point to make because we're supposed to already know these characters.
Right. We've seen the origin already.
Right. So you can't tell me they lack character development. We already know what they go through.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to hear that person explain what they meant by that.
Right.
Because character development, maybe they knew the origin story and they're saying that it doesn't develop the characters much more from the start of the film.
Yeah. And then people are also saying that Reed Richards' powers in the movie are very underwhelming. Now, when they say underwhelming, I don't think they mean like, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around it because by saying underwhelming, you're kind of saying like it's not very cool. But that could just mean he doesn't use his powers a lot. In the movie.
I mean, the one thing that I've noticed about the trailers and like the TV spots and all the footage leading up to the release of the film, they really haven't shown him use his powers much.
Right.
There's like one scene, right, where he's kind of like stretching a little bit. But other than that, they really have kept his scenes hidden where he's using his powers. Whereas Johnny, you see him, being Human Torch a lot.
But I feel like, I mean, obviously we haven't seen the movie, but to say it's underwhelming, I mean, his powers will always be cool and outstanding, but he must just not use it a lot. Because they say that they don't use the Thing a lot either in this movie. But that doesn't mean his powers are underwhelming.
Right. Because his powers are just always on.
But this is where it gets really confusing on Twitter. So some people were saying that it's just okay.
Yeah.
But according to other insiders like John Campea, he has said that there's a lot of people marking it as the highest rating like that they could in a test screening.
I think what he was saying too is like, say if there's a theater of 100 people.
Yeah.
He heard that like the person that they're talking about said like that person heard like multiple people around him give the highest rating possible. Right? Now, could that be like 5 people, 10 people, 15 people? I don't know the exact amount, right? But say you had 15 people around him saying it's excellent and then the rest of them saying it's horrible. It's hard to gauge.
It's hard to gauge, right?
But what he's trying to say is that it's not all saying it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's not all saying it's good, which is kind of leaves us at the point of like, they really can't, there's no conclusion, which is fine. I mean, I think that's great because then we can go into it all being like everyone going with their own expectations.
Right. And on Twitter, there was this big rumor that someone in the test screening yelled out that it was mid in the theater. Now, I saw this tweet and this really like worried me because I was like, whoa, like, for someone to be in a test screening and yell mid after the movie ends is crazy.
Yeah.
But then the same person in that theater came out and said that someone around him thought the movie was okay and said like it's kind of mid. And someone blew it out of proportion saying that someone yelled it was mid.
Yeah.
And it went crazy viral on Twitter. And it's just crazy because for this movie, like leading up to it, I really don't want to listen to insiders' reviews of it. Because after seeing how that got blown out of proportion is crazy. Someone just said to one person that it was mid, and someone blew it up to say that this person screamed out in the whole theater that it was mid, and Kevin Feige was upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's why you just never know, right? What's the truth?
Right. So that's why just be careful what you see on Twitter because or surrounding this movie with insiders, because it could get blown out of proportion and it could be like kind of false reportings.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of false reportings for a lot of movies, to be honest with you.
No, for sure.
So, I mean,
yeah, 100%.
I think the lesson from this is for the future of movies, you shouldn't really listen because you never know what's true.
Yeah. So another piece of news is around Spider-Man 4. We talked about Spider-Man 4 last week.
Yeah.
But apparently Nicole Kidman is being eyed to be the female villain.
I know. I thought that was really odd.
Now, I don't know who she could possibly be, but I think we could count out Black Cat.
Yeah.
I think that one's not going to be touched.
Unless she's playing like an older version from another universe.
Which I don't think she is.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, let us know who you guys think this could be. Because I was trying to look up different female villains of Spider-Man, and there is a lot.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it's Black Cat.
Another
thing I want to talk about is Stranger Things 5. Okay, now, thank you to Netflix for inviting us to Doom.
Why do some people say to Dome?
I don't know. Because some people were saying on the stage, like, to Doom. They were saying to Doom.
Yeah.
But some people were saying to Dome.
I'm going with to Doom.
It's spelled to Doom.
I think we roll it to Doom.
Yeah.
To Dome, to Doom, to Doom sounds better.
And even to Dome, I think to Dumb sounds better than to Dome.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, but moving on to Stranger Things 5, we got what they're calling the date announcements.
Yes.
Now, it's 2 minutes of like footage and it's a lot of like flashbacks. We get snippets of new footage for Stranger Things 5. And we talked about a theory on TikTok that Will be the one that's evil.
Yeah.
Now, just to explain this theory a little bit, we see in the new footage that Will is like yelling at people to run and he's like going crazy. And he's kind of like doing like, it almost looks like he's getting possessed by the Mind Flayer. Because it looks exactly like when he was younger, when he was getting possessed by the Mind Flayer.
Right.
And we see scenes where like, you remember the interrogation scenes when Will is younger and he's possessed by the Mind Flayer and they're calling him a spy. Right. Because the Mind Flayer is using his body to spy on the group and know where they are.
And even like the last season, right? It kind of ends off with Will still having the Mind Flayer in him.
Exactly. And throughout all the seasons, he's always had this weird connection to the Mind Flayer. So the theory is that in this new footage, we see him screaming, but we don't know who he's screaming at or why he's screaming. But then if you go to another scene, you see like Mike is kind of like trying to hold other kids back and protecting them from something.
Yeah.
But behind him, you also see Joyce holding up Will as if he's like hurt, tired, or he's just possessed by the Mind Flayer.
Right.
Because we see like when he's possessed by the Mind Flayer, we see in the interrogation scene, he's like freaking out, right? Because the Mind Flayer's in him, and then he gets super tired because the Mind Flayer gets like tired out of using all the energy. Now, it seems like that's what's happening. And also next to him, you see like a bunch of dead bodies.
Right.
So it makes it seem like Will knows when the Mind Flayer is going to take control of him and use him to kill people. Because when you think about it, the Mind Flayer has been, and Vecna have been building this army for all these seasons of Stranger Things. And they're saying that now's the time they're going to use it. So it almost makes sense that the Mind Flayer is now going to be the time where he's going to use Will to start killing people. All this time he's been using Will as a spy. But now he could finally use him to kill people.
Yeah. I mean, we see the Upside Down now merges into Hawkins, right? They're becoming one.
Right.
And the one thing that's really weird about Hawkins and the Upside Down is that the Upside Down, if everyone remembers this, is that it's all stuck in the day that Will went missing.
Exactly.
So Will has like a very deep connection to the Mind Flayer and to the Upside Down. So it really makes sense that since there's going to be some kind of relevant reason why the date is stuck on Will's day of disappearing.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's going to really come full circle, I think. And it makes sense that, yeah, it starts with Will and will end with him too.
Right. And there's another theory that we talked about on TikTok is that Will is going to be the one to die.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I think this makes sense. Yes, I just said that Will is probably going to be the one doing the killing. He is the Mind Flayer's connection to the real world. The Mind Flayer has no connection like he does with Will.
Right.
So, in my opinion, okay, 11 will survive. She will not be the one to make a big sacrifice. Okay, we already saw 11 do that in season 1.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Season
we
1,
did see that.
She sacrificed herself to save the boys.
I'll be honest, for a while, I did think that 11 was going to sacrifice herself again.
Yeah.
But now, it makes a lot more sense what you're saying.
Yeah, I really don't think she will.
Yeah.
And seeing how much the cast is saying how emotional this season is, I think it would be super emotional if Will is the one to make the final sacrifice because he knows that he needs to die in order for the Mind Flayer to stop having a connection to the real world.
Yeah.
And it would be super emotional if Joyce loses her son.
Yes.
Especially the one that went missing in the first place and was so scared out of his mind and they did everything they could just to save him. And he's the one to finally save everyone else.
The one thing that kind of is weird to me, though, is when in season 4, right?
Yeah.
Will gives Mike that painting.
Right.
The three-headed, what do you call that thing?
Tiamat.
And he's saying that Mike is the guy with the sword, right?
Is the leader.
Going to fight the Tiamat.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get a moment where Mike is going to be fighting.
Will?
If it's Will, I don't know.
Yeah.
But going to be fighting whoever that monster is. And it would be very sad if Mike dies too.
Oh, for sure.
Almost more sad because let me tell you why.
Okay, yeah. Tell me.
I think that Will, even though it's sad what he's been through, since like the Mind Flayer always has control over him, it's kind of like it's hard to be emotionally connected to him because we don't really know Will. We only know like this evil kid that's possessed.
I see.
Like comes and goes, right? So we already kind of lost him in my mind.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we lost Will a long time ago. The one person that we've never lost or felt any kind of detachment from is Mike, and we've only grown a stronger connection with him where you want to see him succeed and you want to see him win.
Yeah.
Mike dying, Steve dying is way more powerful to me than Will dying.
Oh yeah, I for sure think Steve's dead.
What?
He's already dead, and I think he's gonna die.
Really?
For sure.
Wow.
They really teed that up when he's talking to Nancy about having a family with her.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody thought he was going to die in season 4.
So you think he's dead?
Yeah, I think he's going to die. For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, this is how it could go.
Okay.
Either Steve makes a big sacrifice for them.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not going to be like the grand sacrifice at the end. But Steve is going to make a big sacrifice. Or Jonathan is going to sacrifice himself for Steve.
Right.
Yeah.
Or do you think Steve would sacrifice himself for Jonathan?
Yeah, that could happen too.
I'm trying to think which one's more emotional.
I think Steve sacrificing himself for Jonathan.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
After he just told Nancy like they want to have kids and stuff.
Dude, he's dead.
Wow.
No,
we'll
but
see.
I do like your theory about Mike dying because, especially in season 4, they make him seem as if he's like this grand protector of Will. He's always trying to protect Will, make sure everyone's okay.
Right.
Right. And he's kind of growing up to be like the next Steve, to be like the next protector of the group.
Right. And that's why I feel like I will be way more sad if Mike dies over Will. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I kind of agree with you.
I mean, let me know in the comments, but I really think that I would be way more sad.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, how do they get this connection that the Mind Flayer has with Will out of Will? You know what I mean? Because they technically, one season, right, they burned it out of him.
Yeah.
Right? But then it just came back.
Right.
Like, the connection remained.
That's why I'm kind of over it, to be honest with you.
Right. But that's why I think that he's dead.
Oh, you think Will die?
Yeah. That's why I think Will have to make a sacrifice in order for the Mind Flayer to stop having connection to the real world.
That's true. Because it all, the Upside Down stuck in his date. He went missing. So it's like, it is heavily him. Like, he's responsible.
And you got to think, too. Why is Will someone that survived the Upside Down? When you have people like Barb who got killed almost immediately in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
But somehow they found Will in the Upside Down. And he survived for so long. I mean, yes, they did save his life, right? They did get to him in time before he could die. But he survived a lot longer than Barb did. And he's just a little kid.
That's why it's like...
He has a weird connection that no one else could have.
Yeah. I just don't know how they're going to write this season to make it make sense, bring it all together. But I agree with you. I think the only way they've proven... We've had 4 seasons of the same thing.
Yeah.
Will keeps getting screwed over by the Mind Flayer.
Right.
Last chance to get rid of it is to have him die.
Exactly. And what's crazy, okay? In season 4, Will really doesn't have trouble with the Mind Flayer. He feels the presence, right? So they kind of almost use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
Now it's going to bite them in the butt.
Yeah.
Right? Because we had this thing where it's all about Will going missing. Now it's about Will being a spy.
Right.
And we have to worry about Will. To now Will being put on the back burner.
Yeah.
Using the thing to their advantage. Now it's going to come back and haunt them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a pattern.
Yeah, it's a pattern, and I think it's got to end how it started, right?
Yeah.
And it all started because of Will.
Right. The next thing I want to talk about that we also saw at To Doom is Squid Game Season 3.
Yes, Squid Game Season 3.
I know we're going to talk about some theories that you talked about on TikTok, but I do want to talk about possibly what we saw.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did see more in-depth part of the games.
Yeah.
Now, we see 2 games for sure. We see like a maze. We see jump rope, and we see like a maze thing.
Right. In the maze game, we went over that already.
Right. Now, another game that I think is possible still.
Yeah.
Now, I talked about this before, but human chess. Okay. The reason why I think human chess is still the final game is because in the trailer, we only see Gion in a suit.
Yeah.
Usually the last 3 players are in a suit.
Right.
Okay. So I think that when Gion's going to the front man in a suit, he's going to play chess against the front man.
Yeah, and you want to know one other detail that I think is really weird?
What?
Okay, so we see Gion wearing the suit right at
Yes.
the end, and he has an X on his jacket,
Uh-huh.
right? In signifying like he was the one that picked
To stop the games.
Whereas the other players in this scene probably have a circle, possibly, right? So I think the VIP suit scenes, there should be no X's or O's on it from the first season.
Yes.
So I almost think, to your point,
Yeah.
that it could be chess. A suit makes sense for chess,
Mhm.
right? Like it looks very classy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that I don't know if that scene at the end is actually the VIP, the end dinner scene, but it may be one of the games.
Right. That's why I think it's not the dinner scene. I
Yeah.
think it is a game.
Yeah.
Because why else would the front man be wanting to talk to Gion now that he's one of the final players? I almost think it's going to be like this, a chess game. And if Gion loses, they all die.
Uh-huh.
But if Gion wins, he gets to choose maybe one person that he gets to keep alive.
What? You think so?
Yeah.
One person.
Yeah. But I think that's how the game is going to be prefaced. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But I think they're going to stop the games in time.
Yeah, because we see like the police brother, frontman's brother, is going to get to the island.
Right. And then we also
And
see.
he knows where the bombs are.
Yeah. And we see worker number 11 outside of the island.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to stop it.
That would be really sad if they don't.
Yeah. But I think they will.
Okay, moving on to some of the theories that we talked about earlier.
These are good.
Now, Squid Game Season 3 is right around the corner as we're talking about, June 27th, possibly.
Yes.
We love to talk about the games, right? Even
Yeah.
back in Season 1, we talked about the games so much. And now we see that one of the games they're going to be playing, they're going to be split up into two teams, right? We have the blue team and the red team. Now, the blue team, if you look closely, they have no weapons, right? It's just their fists. They have their hands up, and they're all wearing a key. Now, I think that they're given keys. The blue teams are given keys, and they're going to have to go find the door that key unlocks. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, we know that each key is unique to each door.
Right.
Right? Like, not every key is going to open the same door. So you see them struggle to try to find the right door.
Yeah.
As we see some of them panic as they can't get into the door. Now, the red team is also given a box. Now, inside this box is a knife because we see a knife symbol
Yes.
that's kind of highlighted in red. We also don't see their shots of their hands, like when they're walking, the red team's walking through like the maze. You only see above their hands, so they're probably holding a knife down below. Whereas the blue team, they all have their fists up, like they're ready to fight. I think a lot of people will die. It'll be very depressing because you'll see like just people just getting slaughtered by a knife. So then we see player 120, and she is able to fight some player, a red player, and then she makes it out. We see that she makes it out.
Right.
So it makes sense that it's going to be this game of like cat and mouse. People are trying to chase each other, kill each other, and a lot of people will probably die because let's be honest, it's going to be hard to beat people with a knife if you don't have a knife.
Yeah. And when you told me this, it really shook me because it makes a lot of sense. When I was watching it for the first time, I was like, dude, what game is that? But when you bring up the fact that when you look behind them, there is a silhouette of a knife. And then when you look ahead of them, there's a silhouette of a keyhole. So it makes sense that one team is getting a knife, one team is getting keys. Because you do see in the trailer, like the people like kind of like putting keys in the doors and they're like looking through the keyholes. So it makes sense. That's why I was like, dude, that is genius. Another thing that was crazy about this game is, right, we see like that like gumball, like vending machine thing.
Yes.
Now, this game makes things really interesting because each team will both have circles and X's on one team.
Right.
So they can pretty much sabotage each other if you want to on the same team.
Right. And then when you see someone that you like on the other team, you might align together.
Exactly. And what's crazy is when you think about it, they're really not on teams here. It's just who has a key and who has a knife.
That's true. Even the people with keys can kill each other if they want to.
Exactly. So when you think about it, a key person and a knife person could team up.
That's true.
Right? It's technically not like it's separate teams. It's just this side got knives, this side got keys.
Right.
So technically, right, when we see that shot of the son and mom on both sides, they could technically team up, right? And they're making it seem like, oh, they're going to have to kill one another.
Right.
But technically, they could just team up and one has a key, one has a knife. So they'll make it out.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next theory. Now, we all love and hate the character Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Such a unique character, such a good villain.
Yeah.
And Thanos had a partner that was number 124.
Mhm.
No one likes him.
No.
He's horrible.
Right.
And if there's someone that should die in the game, it's him.
Yeah.
And that's why this theory, you'll love it if you hate him. So we see in the game jump rope. They're going to be playing jump rope. But then we see one contestant, he's going to fall off because the rope catches his ankle and he's going to slip out.
Right.
And we see that person hit the ground. Now, that player is 124, and here's why. if you look, the shot of his feet is very giving like clues because his right foot has this unique blood pattern on his foot.
Yeah, like a blood stain.
And earlier in the episodes, we see the front man talking, and then you see 124 in the back, and his right shoe is covered in blood the same way it's on the jump rope scene.
Yep.
So he's the one that's going to die.
Yeah. That is such a crazy detail.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. But just by seeing like how he is in the second season, you know that guy's going to get like a pretty bad death.
He's due.
Yeah. And you could see like when they're like showing the jump rope game, when they're like looking over the edge, dude, it's a far drop.
Yeah. It's like the glass bridge.
Yeah. And like the tug of war.
Yeah.
They're just done.
They're done.
Okay, so moving on to now the most believable Marvel theories.
Let's go.
These are some like crazy theories, but they make a lot of sense.
Okay.
The first one, okay? Why did Tony Stark make the nanotech suit?
This is a good one.
This is a good one, okay? So the theory is that Iron Man created the nanotech suit all because of Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Now, when you really look at this theory, we all know that Tony Stark always tries to learn from his mistakes.
Yes.
And he always tries to fix things. One mistake that he made was that Ant-Man could enter his suit at any point in time. Like we see in Civil War, Ant-Man shrinks down to the perfect size to fit into Iron Man's suit.
Right.
And he makes like his weapons malfunction.
Yeah.
Right? Now, knowing Tony Stark, the only way he thinks to fix that issue is to make a suit that fully covers his body.
Right.
Now, because when you think about it, the only other person that has been able to get into an Iron Man suit is Rhodey.
Right.
Yeah, and he intentionally puts it on Pepper in Iron Man 3.
Right.
So, if we're going to get technical, Rhodey puts War Machine on the president too. Okay. But Rhodey has been the only one to get into an Iron Man suit technically without Tony Stark's permission.
Right.
Now that Ant-Man has gotten his suit and has been able to use it against him, he needed to make a suit that fully covers his body and has no holes in it. And it's like skin tight. And to prove that it's skin tight, we see in Infinity War when he activates the nanotech suit for the first time, he pulls his whole outfit like skin tight.
Yeah.
So you know there's really no gaps. The nanotech is like his skin.
Right.
So when you really think about it, he made that suit so Ant-Man can't get in there.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right.
Yeah. The next one is that Tony Stark 100% had to die.
Ooh.
Now, we've talked about this theory a lot before, but we all see in Infinity War, Doctor Strange tells Tony that he saw 14 million outcomes.
Yeah.
And they only win one. But we go to Multiverse of Madness, we see Doctor Strange is able to kill Thanos on his own.
Right.
With the Darkhold. So you're telling me that Doctor Strange saw outcomes, but they only win one, and that's the one where Tony Stark sacrifices himself? It really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, Doctor Strange could have just used the Darkhold and killed Thanos himself, right, and have Tony stay alive.
Yes.
But the reason why he needed Tony to die is because he figured out time travel. And if we know from all the other Avengers movies, Tony always feels the need to fix things, but he always ends up screwing it up in reality.
Yeah. Like Ultron.
In the grand scheme of things, yeah, he really messes it up when he tries to fix things.
Right.
So knowing Tony Stark figuring out time travel, if he stayed alive after Endgame, he would have felt the need to go into every single timeline and fix his mistakes.
Yeah.
Which could cause a multiversal breakdown.
Yes.
And also cause kind of like a multiversal war between Tony Starks in a way, or also other Avengers, and causes huge multiversal war like the Kangs did.
Yeah.
So Doctor Strange saw all that becoming a possibility when he saw that those 14 million outcomes. Yes, he saw outcomes where they do win, but Tony stays alive, but it just causes a multiversal breakdown.
Right.
So he knew that couldn't be a possibility. So he knew that the only one they win is if Tony sacrifices himself.
Right.
So Tony Stark had to die.
Had to die.
Now, this is a theory that you told me a while ago.
Okay.
And this is what happened to Tom Holland's Spider-Man's parents in the MCU.
Oh.
Yeah, this one was really good.
Okay. This is a while back.
Yeah. So we all know in all the Peter Parker's lives, they lose their parents. Now we see in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man movies, we literally see the plane go down. We see his parents die.
Yeah.
They show it on screen. Now we don't see Tobey's parents die. And we definitely don't see Tom's parents die. So a lot of people are wondering what the heck happened to Tom Holland's Spider-Man's parents.
Right.
So when you really think about it, you go back to Andrew Garfield's. He's a very young child. And we know that we've already seen Tom Holland's Spider-Man as a young child in the MCU.
Yeah.
In Iron Man 2.
Right.
We see him as a little kid with the Iron Man helmet trying to kill the Hammer drones at the Stark Expo.
Yeah.
So the theory is that the reason why Tom Holland as a little kid was alone at the Stark Expo is because the Hammer drones actually killed his parents. When you really look at all the destruction of that scene, there's no way not one person died.
Right. 100%.
Right. And that's why he was alone as a kid. And that's why he was trying to kill the Hammer Jones himself, is because he saw one kill his parents.
Yes.
Right. So it definitely makes sense that if a kid is in all that destruction and he's probably not alone, his parents must have gotten killed in that destruction.
Yes.
And that kid is around the age where Andrew Garfield lost his parents. So it lines up perfectly, and probably that's when he was handed off to Aunt May.
Yes.
Because who's the next legal guardian for you? Aunt May.
Right.
In New York.
Right.
So yes, to confirm, Tom Holland's parents died at the Stark Expo in Iron Man 2.
Yes. I agree. 100%.
Okay, this is the last one, but it makes a lot of sense, and we talked about this semi-recently, but this is the theory that Doctor Strange is the anchor hero of the MCU. Universe 616.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to Endgame, right, when Hulk is trying to retrieve the Time Stone from the Ancient One tells Hulk that Doctor Strange is meant to be the best of us.
Yeah.
Now, when you go on to like after Endgame, we see that Doctor Strange loses the title of Sorcerer Supreme. Now, do you really think the best of us means Sorcerer Supreme if he loses the title of Sorcerer Supreme? Probably not. But the Ancient Ones was actually telling Hulk that Doctor Strange is the anchor hero of this universe and that he holds it all together, showing that he is the best of us because he's the one that basically keeps the universe together.
Right.
Because we see in Deadpool and Wolverine, if that anchor hero dies or goes out of the universe, that universe will fall apart.
Yes.
So that's showing that Doctor Strange is, by saying he's the best of us, he is the anchor hero. Because if he's not Sorcerer Supreme, he's not the best of us.
Right. You know what's really interesting about that whole thing? I started thinking about this. What happens when the anchor being dies of old age?
Oh.
What happens then?
I think the universe would fall apart.
What?
Yeah.
You think so?
Because if you really think about it, if there's always branch timelines happening.
Yeah.
It's going to get to a point where there's too many.
Uh-huh.
So it's almost like you got to get rid of some.
You think so?
Yeah. I think in like the whole grand scheme of things, some universes will end up having to be broken down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
So like unless there's a replacement comes in of that same hero.
Can that work?
Well, we see it kind of work in Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Deadpool's universe is breaking down.
Right.
Brings Wolverine in.
A different one.
And now they're okay.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, technically it's the same one. It's the same one with all his friends, right? And he brings Wolverine into that one.
No, what I'm trying to say it's not the same Wolverine that was the anchor hero, though.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. It's a different Wolverine, but he was able to replace him and bring him into Deadpool's universe.
Right.
And it worked.
It worked so far.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Would You Rathers.
Let's go.
Okay. First one. Simple one. Easy one. Maybe. Would you rather have Dash's powers or Frozone's powers?
Dash's powers.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah. Super speed over freezing things.
Yeah.
What is more practical? Answer that. Super speed
but is it
freezing things?
But is it more practical?
Are you serious?
I feel like you can do a lot with Frozone's powers.
Oh my gosh. You're just messing with me. You think that you would prefer having Frozone's powers over Dash's powers?
Yeah.
No way.
I mean,
no way.
You could literally see Frozone like
no way.
You see Frozone like skating above like the rooftops and he's like getting around easy.
If you had Dash's powers,
yeah,
you can go anywhere you want, okay?
So
fast.
Frozone's still fast.
Yeah,
faster than an average human.
You're going to leave behind this whole trail of ice.
It melts. It's water.
Yeah, but you know how
the earth could always use more water.
No. You can't be traveling around in the streets with that. You'll like ruin traffic for the whole day.
Water.
Daniel, it's frozen blocks of like glaciers. They're glaciers of ice.
Water. It's water. It's going to melt.
Sure, but for 3 hours, it's going to be freaking glacier.
I'm not putting it on the ground.
What are you talking about?
You don't remember that scene where like Frozone is like skating in the air?
Yeah, but it's attached to something at first. Something grounded. You're telling me that he jumps off a building. Okay, say he jumps off a building.
Yeah.
And he goes psh, psh, psh. Right?
Yeah.
What is that ice connected to support him? It's just going to fall straight down with him. It needs to be grounded to the ground to create some kind of, it's like Fortnite materials, okay?
Yeah.
When you build a structure, it needs to be connected to something.
Yeah.
You can't just put down a freaking floor in the middle of the sky and not be like falling.
Sure. I'm still taking Frozone.
You're crazy.
But you're going so lame. You're going practical. You're like, is that practical? Dude, Frozone is just freaking cool.
Dude, no. If you could have super speed, I guarantee you everyone will agree. Super speed is way better than Frozone.
Dash is super speed.
Yeah.
It's not the Flash.
But he's pretty darn fast.
But he's not the Flash, okay? He can't reverse time or anything.
Okay, well just you don't know that. Maybe when he gets older he can.
Yeah, but he's not.
What?
He's not.
He's not there yet.
We don't even know if he could do that.
He literally could put a thumbtack down on the teacher's chair without even being seen.
Great.
That's super fast.
Is that practical?
Yeah.
Oh, being able to put a thumbtack on.
You could get places faster. You could run. You could get away from danger.
Okay, sure. I'm still going Frozone.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
Whatever. Would you rather be best friends with Golem, but he's obsessed with you instead of the ring, or be best friends with Donkey from Shrek, but he literally will always talk 24/7?
Donkey. I hate Golem. I hate Golem so much.
Yeah, I don't think I'd do Golem.
When we had the DVDs of the Lord of the Rings, I would purposely, I wouldn't even want to put my hand in the DVD box because I know Golem's on the cover of Lord of the Rings.
Now, Golem, though, at least he would shut up.
Yeah, but just looking at him is crazy.
Yeah, but if I think...
I'm going Donkey. I don't even care.
But see, I'm trying to think of, how am I going to be able to sleep with, Donkey talking at me 24/7?
Yeah, because Donkey will sleep.
No, that's not the prompt. I said 24/7.
Well, if that's the case, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to tell Donkey, look, I get it. You want to talk, okay?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you tell him. It's not going to shut him up.
I get you want to talk, but when it's time to sleep, you go walk a mile that way, and then I'll meet you in the morning. You can be talking to the freaking fairies.
Sure. That's a good loophole. Okay. Next one. Would you rather live in a Pixar movie forever or live in a DreamWorks movie forever?
Pixar.
Yeah. The one I was thinking about, it would be pretty cool to live in the Shrek universe.
Or the How to Train Your Dragon universe.
But
to live the most normal life, I would go Pixar because I could be in Toy Story's universe and just be a regular person.
Is Toy Story normal? Because according to the Pixar theory, everyone's going to die. I'm just kidding.
I feel like if I went to the How to Train Your Dragon universe, I would die.
No, for sure. I would be so bored.
What are we talking about? You get to ride dragons.
Yeah, but I don't get to watch TV. I don't get to watch movies. I just feel like
you're living a movie. You're living it.
Yeah, that's true. I would only want to be in How to Train Your Dragon universe if I had to have Toothless.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I will fight Hiccup for him.
Oh, okay.
No, kill him.
You're gonna sweep the leg.
Okay, would you rather be stuck in the Toy Story universe as a toy that no one ever plays with, or stuck in the Inside Out universe, but you're only in control of embarrassment?
So I'm only embarrassed all the time?
Yeah. You're the character embarrassment.
Oh, I guess I would do the toy.
That's so sad.
But, the one thing you forgot to say is in the prompt, okay?
Okay.
I may not be able to be played with, but I'll be able to play and still socialize with my toys, other fellow toys. Yeah. So I won't be lonely.
You won't be lonely as embarrassment either. You'll have the other emotions around you.
Pain all the time.
Pain?
Embarrassment is pain. It's pain because it's painful to see yourself do that.
I guess, but there are people out there that just don't get embarrassed.
But you're saying I am embarrassed.
No, you are embarrassed. You are embarrassment.
Exactly. So
no, you're the emotion embarrassment.
Right, and you embody embarrassment. And what comes with embarrassment? Shame, regret, pain.
Whoa. You're naming different emotions now. Embarrassment is embarrassment. Shame is its own emotion.
Okay, well, if you're asking me my opinion,
shame could be separate from embarrassment.
I'm giving it to you, okay?
Okay.
And I'm saying I would rather be the toy.
Loser. Okay, last one. Would you rather be the hero who loses everyone they love but saves the world, or be the villain who gets everything they want but is hated by everyone?
The hero.
Yeah.
The heck?
Well, you're technically saying you're going to have everyone you love die, but you're going to save the world. But as a villain, you keep everyone alive and you get what you want because everybody hates you.
I probably kill people though as a villain. I think the way you flip this prompt is
okay.
The villain
gets
to keep all his loved ones alive, but he kills the world. Kills a lot of people, right? Around the world.
Okay.
So in that case, the hero is the way to go, I think, because that's the more honorable.
Wait. Oh.
Right? Because you can't, your loved ones, that'd be really selfish, right?
Well, yeah, if you kill the entire world and you keep just your family alive.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to repopulate the world?
That's your concern?
And that's it for Would You Rather.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching the podcast. If you're new to the channel, please smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also comment what you guys want us to talk about next week, and comment your opinions and thoughts on what we've talked about today.
Yes.
We'll see you guys tomorrow on TikTok, and we'll see you guys next week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
We'll see you on TikTok.
God bless you guys. See ya.
Love ya.